Bitcoin is trading at $99,400. This is absolutely crazy what has happened the past couple of days. Actually, the past couple of weeks have been nuts already, with Donald Trump launching his own meme coin, and then the Melania coin, and the ups and downs of talks of a strategic reserve. Then we had over the weekend, Trump threatened to raise tariffs on other countries, on Mexico, on Canada, on China. And then there was a huge sell-off in the markets. And then yesterday or Monday, apparently there were talks with those countries. The tariffs have been postponed, and we had a huge bounce. It's just really, really crazy what happened. So Bitcoin basically sold off from 105,000. Yesterday on Monday, it dropped to just about 92,000, and then it rebounded all the way to 101,000, and now we're right here at 99,000. So let me see here, let me try and make some sense of what is happening and share my thoughts a little bit. If you do enjoy these updates, smash the like button, give us a follow on YouTube or on Instagram, and let's dive in. So look, I think we got to start with simply the fact that if you are looking on the chart, technically Bitcoin here is just in this range, okay, between 90,000 and 110,000, let's call it that. And so far, since the beginning of December, it's been chopping around. And regardless of the news and all the FUD and everything that's happening, basically Bitcoin is still within this range, and it is perfectly respecting the highs and the lows. As you can see here, the highs couldn't get past there, but at the same time, the lows are also very much being respected here. And even yesterday, it bounced perfectly once again to that range and then bounced, and we're in the middle. So basically, as long as there is no breakout either way, we're trapped here in this range, and we simply have to be patient. And there's obviously people who are trying to bet on every single little movement. Everyone's trying to long on leverage and short on leverage, and in the meantime, they're getting wrecked. Yesterday, allegedly, there was $10 billion in liquidations. Like the normal liquidation map updates, they only showed about like $2 billion. But Ben Zhu from BYBIT Exchange, CEO, he came out with this tweet and he said that it was actually closer to $10 billion in liquidations, which is huge. While Bitcoin is still in this range, altcoins got absolutely decimated and dropped 30, 40, 50%. Which is nuts. So before I move over to altcoins, and especially Ethereum, which had the craziest day yesterday, where it dropped from like 3,100 to 2,100, look at Bitcoin. Okay, we are in this range, and we need to see what happens here. A breakout here could lead us to 120 or 150 to continue the bull market, and dropping back below, I would say this 88,000 could potentially set us up to a drop into the low 70,000s. And until then, we're still just chopping around. And Bitcoin is basically still at $100,000, which is crazy to think about, because just about 2 years ago in November of 2022, Bitcoin was trading under $20,000. So it is still completely up about 5x from the lows, a little bit more. And the world is acting like things are going crazy. So Bitcoin is still in a very good position for now, but lose that 88,000 and then things could start to accelerate towards the downside. Now, one thing that is important to keep in mind is that Bitcoin on the weekly time frames, the higher time frames, it is still very much in a bullish trend. The definition of a bullish trend is making higher highs and higher lows, which we've been doing since basically January of 2023. So at this point in time, there is still that bullish trend, and especially as long as we're still holding above this 90,000 or it's $88,000 level, we can assume that the direction of the trend continues, which is still higher. Of course, if things change below this 88,000, then we can start to have a look and say, okay, well, maybe the next target indeed, here is these previous highs from March of 2024 around the $70,000 level. This also has confluence with the fact that this is the 50-week moving average, and I would say that is the line in the sand. If we get a weekly close below the 50-week moving average, I think the bull trend is done and we're starting a new bearish trend, in the same way that we did every time we basically lost the 50-week moving average in a bull trend, right? So you can see over here, it was the same thing in that cycle and that cycle. And every time you can go and look back, this doesn't happen often, but once we lose the 50-week moving average, there's usually another 50% drop in price. And then also potentially another 12 months lower. So that is the key on the higher time frame. Even if we were to drop to 70 or 73,000, retest this 50-week moving average in the same way that it happened over here, right? You can see we retested it and bounced. That is still a possibility. So we could drop absolutely into the low 70,000s and then still continue for a leg higher. That is an option. Lose that, I think we go a bunch lower. And then of course anything in between is possible. Maybe we don't drop back and retest at 70. Maybe everything goes absolutely bull. That was a massive shakeout yesterday, and maybe we'll continue up from here. So there are basically those few possibilities, and we have to wait and see. But what's important to note on the higher time frame is that we are in a bullish trend, and we will continue to be in a bullish trend until we lose this 50-week moving average. From everything that I've said, that is basically the main thing to take away. What happens in the short term, whether we drop to 80,000 or 90,000 or 70,000, it still remains in a bullish trend until we get below this 50-week moving average, which means if the trend is bullish, then the direction is up, right? So as long as that trend remains bullish, as long as we don't lose the 50-week moving average, over time we could expect it to go higher. Now, if we're looking at Ethereum, it was absolutely crazy what happened yesterday. Sure, Bitcoin had a bit of a sell-off, but Ethereum went absolutely crazy. Like, it had, I think, one of the biggest drops ever in a single day. You can see here, this is the weekly chart. You can see what happened. It basically just went exactly to these lows, a little bit lower depending on which chart you're looking at. But if we're looking at the daily chart here, the wick on Ethereum is absolutely crazy. You can see here at the top of the screen there, the intraday movement was insane. The high of the day was 2,921. The low was 2,125. So in terms of an absolute move on a single day, that was brutal. It wicked all the way down. And you can see here, I'll overlay this on the chart right now. The abnormality of the move was just absolutely huge. Now, what's interesting to note is that this very much does seem just like a massive liquidation hunt. There's talks about some big fund or big whales that blew up. You can see these lows all got taken with this wick. So anyone who was long ETH with stops like over here, they all got taken out. But as you can see here on this chart, it went all the way down and then it went all the way back up. So basically everyone who was long got liquidated with stops up to this point, and then people who started shorting on the way down, expecting this to go even lower, they also got wrecked when it absolutely pulled straight back up. So this is a crazy day, and what makes it even more crazy is that the son of the president of the United States of America, so Eric Trump, he tweeted that he thinks that, in his opinion, it's a good idea to buy ETH. And the original tweet actually said, "Thank me later," but it seems that was edited and taken out of the tweet at a later point. Then we have Trump-backed World Liberty Financial has bought more ETH, okay? So they have literally thousands and thousands of ETH. They have tens of millions of dollars worth of ETH, and the son went and tweeted that buying ETH is a good idea. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happened and what's going to happen over the coming weeks. Historically, February is the most bullish month in the first 6 months of the year. Historically, Q1 is bullish. Historically, especially Q1 after the halving, the first year after the halving, is bullish for Ethereum and altcoins. So was yesterday a pure liquidation event? Do we go back up? Was it a trap? Is it the top of the bull market? We don't know for now, and it's all pretty crazy to see how this is developing. This all happened yesterday. As you can see, ETH is kind of pulling back down a little bit and kind of filling that wick, which is to be expected. But this week is going to be important. So we had the daily close yesterday, which potentially with a wick like this could be a low. We had that capitulation, which some people are saying is comparable to the FTX capitulation and the Luna capitulation in terms of the sell-off, the vast amount of losses in altcoins and the size of it, and that usually marks some sort of bottom. But at the same time, nobody knows for sure. There's so much uncertainty, so much volatility. The last couple of weeks, like I've said, have been so crazy with the Trump meme coin and all of this happening. But at the same time, you got to ask yourself, would the son of Donald Trump really be tweeting? Would they really be buying hundreds of millions of dollars worth of crypto, especially also Ethereum, if they didn't know what was ahead? Right? Would they really be buying this if they knew that the top was in and that we're going to go down for the next 2 to 3 years and that altcoins are going to drop 60, 70, 80%? I would think logically, no, that would probably not be a smart idea. So in my theory, it would be like any logical person would think, if they see that this World Liberty Finance is buying all this crypto, you'd imagine they know something, and that in the next weeks or months, it is probably all going to go a bunch higher, right? They're doing that to be able to make money, would be the assumption. So we will have to see how this week closes. If the weekly candle doesn't go all the way back down, if it ends up being green, then maybe we have a bottom. Maybe this was a liquidation event before the big surge, like we've seen many, many times. For example, in March of 2020, we had a massive black swan sell-off, huge liquidation event, and after that, things started to recover and went much, much higher. This could be a similar situation. If we're looking at, for example, the total crypto market cap, which is all the crypto combined, the market cap of both Bitcoin and altcoins, you can see kind of what happened here is also we got a massive wick, but completely pulled back up. This is a daily chart. You can see it swept all these lows over here. So everyone who was long on crypto, on Bitcoin and altcoins together, this is obviously the total market cap, but anyone who stops here below these lows, basically anyone who went long anywhere from late November and December onwards, they all got wrecked with this wick, and that's why it was such a massive capitulation event. So you can see what happened here. Technically, it just wicked. It took all these liquidations, all these stop losses, and then it pulled right back up. And usually what happens, purely just based on a chart like this, whether it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a monthly chart or a 5-minute chart or a 15-minute chart, usually when this is a bullish trend where the trend has been up, it consolidates, it grabs the liquidity, then it usually ends up continuing in the direction of the trend. So basically what we have now is this is the line in the sand. As long as we don't get below here again, obviously if we trend below here, that's a different story. But as long as we don't get below here, maybe we retest this or maybe a little bit something like this. In theory, a lot of the time, I would expect continuation higher beyond these all-time highs, and these are the highs of December, and even higher than that, and hopefully our continuation of the bull market and the blow off top and the blow off trend in the bull market, which we still technically have a 1 to 3 month window, February, March, maybe April, in terms of 12 months post halving, the most bullish months of the year, the most bullish months in the time after the halving. This is basically it. So with a little luck, we get to see some massive continuation up and much higher for the next 1 or 2 or 3 months. And then it will be time to sell, in my opinion, but we'll deal with that later. For now, that's how I'm seeing the market. So fingers crossed, guys, that we do get continuation, that we get our altcoin season, and that we get a blow off top leading into March or April of 2025. If you like this, smash the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.